Hey man, you ever look into flat Earth?
I'm going to start out with a video that or an area that I know fairly well because I've done a lot of fishing up this way. Filmed this on 5/31/2019. This was like later in the day. But normally there's three bigger islands up here that on this particular day, obviously, there's some mirroring, and this land that is supposed to be very visible is all being cut off, chopped off. You see it being mirrored, its mirror image underneath itself. And then also we have, this atmospheric distortion, water condition distortion, I should say, or weather conditions. They do block your visibility. It's very simple. When you look at your visibility limits for particular days, on this particular day, I don't think my visibility limit was but a couple of miles. Why? Because I did more observations than just this, but here's another portion here. I just wanted to start that one out to show that I was up on top of this little observation deck that is at Pine Island. And I'll even darken up my screen here a little bit, and show that everything is really being magnified too. This is one of the reasons why I think everything gets compressed and squashed down into its own um, mirror image. Um, you can look at Raleigh's criterion. That's one of the things people need to research. Um, really, if you think you're living on a spinning ball flying through space at, spinning around the sun at 66,000 miles an hour and flying all over the place. I mean, here's these bigger islands that are supposed to be out there. Obviously, they're cut off. You can barely see parts of them. I mean, you're just seeing the very tip tops of them. Again, I'm on top of the observation deck, so I'm, quite high, being that it is a fairly low tide. If you see rocks sticking up, usually the tide is fairly low. Also, you see that I'm up high because I'm looking over the top of that sign. This is land over here, and these are the power plants. Even while I'm up on top of this deck, I don't get as good of a view of these power plant stacks as I did on one day that I had my camera at 4 inches off the water taking a picture. I took some pictures of these that were like astounding. Um, 30 inches and 4 inches, and you'd be surprised of how much you could actually see. But we're going to explain some things that, this magnification, also this mirroring, what it causes. Right here, for me, the land is magnified. I've done enough observations of this to see at full zoom how much bigger this land is um, uh, compared to other days at full zoom. The land itself isn't even as big. So what's happening is it's either being magnified or that land is being lifted up, ramped up, causing a higher um, it's a displacement. Like this land mass right here is being displaced upward, or what's behind it further back Crystal River Power Plant, is being possibly magnified too, but in the process of being magnified, it is being also hidden behind, um, these closer islands. And you could just use perspective. If you walk up to a fence, I mean, if you stand back away from the fence, you can see quite a ways over it, but the closer you get to the fence, you lose less and less of your in line of sight visibility. Um, so again, um, all of this stuff being mirrored, all these different optical effects, weather conditions. Also, look at the haze going on in the background. That haze, that illuminated haze, also blocks you from seeing distant objects. These are obscurities that obscure our visibility limits, and our visibility limits are what really allows us to see much clearer too. But clearer isn't always um, mean that you have better visibility on long distance. Sometimes clearer could mean that you still have a visibility limit, but the object that you're looking at is being magnified, pulled in closer, and you can see it in more detail. I have um, here's another one. This is one where I had a day where I did have good visibility up to a certain point, and then after that, the mirroring effect, like these birds. And sorry I didn't get this in better focus too, because these birds look ginormous really when I zoom in on them fully, but they are quite a ways away. And what this also does is it causes what I think is like it compresses the horizon. It obscures it. The haze too. It's like a curtain being drawn down and pulled in much closer to you instead of allowing you to see much, further distance. It's just like I say, it's just like a curtain, a blind. Now right here, you'll see I'll get it in focus, and you'll see how um, much clearer it is. I mean, look at this visibility, but look at the mirroring. I mean, look at these markers, um, the channel markers. I mean, look at them. You can see them being mirrored underneath them, and how compressed they look. So anything beyond it gets all pushed down, compressed down, and you start losing it through the Raleigh criterion effect. No matter what the object is or how big the object is. It could be a boat, it could be a house. It's going to cut it in half. Um, Similar to the video I put out viewing Pine Island from the Hernando Beach islands. One day it looked like the water was flooding it, and it was really mirrored out. And then another day, obviously, you could see how much clearer it was. You could actually see the seawall. And I could point out really in that video where I stand, usually doing my filming, because a lot of times I'm filming to the south and not to the north. But I feel like to film these islands because, like I say, some days you can't see them at all, zero, period. Visibility is so bad, um, you don't see nothing. Now, here's a day where obviously my visibility is good. It's like the sun is being filtered through some of the clouds, which actually allowed, like I say, much better visibility. Things seem to be further away, smaller perspectively compared to some of my other observations where I zoomed in fully. And, like the last video there, those islands looked huge. And I'm going to name some of the islands, but what you're looking at here, this particular land, is 6 to 12 miles away. Looking at my navigation maps, you know, I see all these little cuts, these other little islands. I've been up that way fishing, and I know some of this stuff is well past the Chassahowiska channel. So I know that this island right here is called Crawl Key, and Crawl Key is 6 miles away. This one is Saddle Key, and it is 5.5 miles away. And this last island right here is Sheephead Island, and it is 4.6 miles away. And again, you can still see land farther beyond. And that land is distorted. There's no doubt in my mind it's distorted. But here's that point that you were looking at in the first video where half of it was missing. It was vanished. You know, it doesn't matter how high my camera is because, believe it or not, my camera's at 28 inches. And I'm going to let some the natural audio go on here. And then I got cell phone footage of, I cut it and placed the cell phone footage in there. But here's even Anclote Island. Here's the big stack, the cooling stack, and then you got the other bigger stack there. But this was some really awesome footage. And again, the Crystal River Power Plant there was very much magnified compared to a lot of my pictures. All right, here we go with the natural audio. I'm going to get my phone out. I'm showing you with my cell phone this little cut right through here. And I'll show you that this land extends further and further out. There's even other islands you're able to see today because the visibility's allowing for it. That's the end of the land, folks. I wish I could see it. You can see a boat out there. Show you these islands. There's the first island with land behind it. The second island, land behind it. And here comes the third island, and land behind it. And there's the corner. And that's what I'm looking at, folks, right there. I'm showing you with my cell phone this little cut right through here. And I'll show you that this land extends further and further out. There's even other islands you're able to see today because the visibility's allowing for it. And that's the end of the land, folks.
Wish I could see a... Wish I could see a boat out there. But, let me show you these islands. There's the first island with land behind it. The second island, land behind it. And here comes the third island with land behind it. And there's the corner. And that's what I'm looking at, folks, right there. And again, here's water washing up to my legs. And my camera's at 28 inches.
Alright, really this, you know, is just a minute, small piece of my research into doing these types of observations. And this was some of my best footage from this particular area. And I knew the area, like I said, this is a area that I used to fish an awful lot. Used to do a lot of fishing up that way for tournament fishing when we were up there in the Citrus County Builders fishing tournament that they had. So I really do know that area, and I know that the land mass is up there, and you have to actually get up towards Chassahowiska channels to actually see these islands. And you'd be surprised how far out that this actually extends and how far out those islands are. Now, again, at 28 inches, and I'm talking the last part of these islands that you can see have to be 12 miles away. By my navigation map, easily 12 miles away. Now, we can get into optical compression, you know, all these optical illusions, superior mirages, and you can see right there where it's almost on the transition of mirroring in the background there a little while ago. And again, you know, as I zoom in here, if the horizon was all had a lot more humidity, I would not be even seeing this. Again, remember, these are in the cooler months of Florida when our water and air temperature are pretty much, you know, closer to the same temperature. Now, that island there is just a little island that pokes out more toward my right, more toward the landmass, and that's where I have to go to catch. Right here, you can see the stacks really stretched out. And if somebody wants to call that looming, they can, but when you look at the pictures I took on a much clearer night in the evening, at night, and compare them to that, you'll see that those are magnified, not looming. The power plants are always visible. Matter of fact, when I fish down in Arapica on my way back, I can see the lights flashing from another, well, let's see, I'm going to say at least another 8 miles away from Pine Island. Now, at Pine Island, I shouldn't even, I might be able to see the very tip top of them, but any further away, I shouldn't see any of them at all. But again, look back and my pictures of, I think it was In Search of the True Horizon or something. I'm not sure which. There were a bunch of series, and it was the last one. I saved the last for the best for last. And Matrix Breakout 6 made a video. He analyzed it. He got a lot of information about the Crystal River power plant that I couldn't even find. And, well, I'm not great at, working these computers, but even at this short distance right here, you can obviously see the land masses behind it. And, these are a bunch of little islands, probably, on angles where you really can't see that they're little islands, or you can't see the cuts going in between them because of the distortion. But obviously there's a bigger tree line farther in the back. Now, are these being loomed? Yes, quite possibly, but I don't think it's actually the looming that they're claiming it is. Anything that is in your line of sight can be distorted. If it's below your line of sight, if your camera can't even see it, then how can it distort the object? Again, this is all in the line of sight. This is not below the curvature of Earth. And, if you really think that, then, maybe you should go out and do some of your own testing. I'm not going to tolerate trolls on my channel coming in, trying to get me into a stupid debate and waste my time with them. I don't waste my time on them people at all. It's not worth it because you get nowhere. At the end of the debate or whatever, you say you won, they say they won, and it goes absolutely nowhere. But I've been taking pictures of the power plant, and again, here is one of the channel markers out there, the red one. And obviously you don't really see it mirroring, but you see the channel marker. There's a green one, and again, it's not magnified. So all of this stuff should be much smaller, and it is when you compare it to the first part of the video. There's a big difference in it. Now, anybody notice the Wikipedia link that YouTube is placing on our videos, underneath our videos, just above our titles? I think that's pretty low down that they're doing that, and I don't mind even speaking up loudly and saying that in my video, because it's just wrong for them to try to discourage people even before they look at your proof, because our proof has been killing the globe. So I guess they got to take a side. All right, thanks for watching, folks.